Welcome to Living the Smarter Science of Slim, where we provide a scientifically proven lifestyle for long-term health and fat loss by eating more and exercising less, but smarter.
Eat smarter, exercise smarter, live better. I am so ready for that.
We have a gentleman I know you've heard of and has certainly helped many, many people across the country achieve their health and fitness goals. He is the famed author of the 17-Day Diet, and we've got Dr. Mike with us. Welcome, Mike. How are you?
Jonathan, what a nice introduction. Thank you so much. Great to be on the show. I'm excited to chat and answer some fun questions and hopefully continue to further the cause.
Well, I greatly appreciate all the efforts you've done towards the cause, Dr. Mike. And one thing I wanted to start it off with before we get into your story is I know here on the Smarter Science of Slim show, we always try to talk about lifestyle change and ensuring we're in line with science. And we definitely want to free ourselves from a lot of the empty promises that can sometimes be out there in the weight loss world. And I know, and I say this with all the respect in the world, that sometimes when people hear the term 17-day diet, they're like, okay, what is this? But if you actually dig a little bit deeper, I mean, you have to have a catchy title. But when you actually look below the surface, what you're talking about is really just clean, nutrient-dense eating. At least that's my observation. Is that accurate?
You're absolutely right. It's a baby step program, and the 17 diet. And as we get into the discussion, it'll become more evident as to why that the title is as it is. It's you look at the book. It's a pink book. It's flashy. It's a catchy thing. And like you said, there is a marketing technique to anything. But really, when you dig below, it's just sound nutritional advice. It's not gimmicky. It's a baby step fashion. And when I say baby step, I mean each baby step is 17 days to getting people back onto a track of proper health and nutrition and not eliminating all of these foods. I think so many people have gone to these protein-driven diets, and you cannot deprive the human body of carbohydrates. It is an energy source. It is a source that we constantly need, and if we don't have it, we crave it, we need it, and when we want it, we sometimes become gluttonous, as with so many other things. So this is exactly as you said. It's sound nutritional advice, but I think it's been laid out in a format that has not quite been done previously, and I think that's why people are finding it doable and successful.
And Mike, I'm curious, certainly you mentioned there's a lot of individuals who, when they go on a program which, let's say, seeks almost a complete elimination of carbohydrate, that can potentially be a struggle for them. Have you noticed that there are maybe different types of people, for example, individuals that do better on a higher/moderate clean diet, higher/moderate carbohydrate clean diet, and then maybe individuals that do better on a higher/moderate fat but still clean diet?
Absolutely. The human body's entirely, it's just got to be the most complicated thing out there. I've been practicing family medicine for about 15 and a half years now. So I've dealt with from children, from babies, quite honestly, even from delivery all the way up to the geriatric population. Each individual is different. Each person functions at a different capacity, and we all know there's people who, eat what appears to be 5,000 calories a day and never gain weight. And then we all know there's people who can function off 2 hours of sleep a night and be as though they've slept 8 or 10. So we're all different, and then whether it's our sleep patterns or our eating habits or our exercise requirements, and it's a matter of finding two things. One, what works for you, and two, what you can live with and you're happy with. And I think that dynamic is really critical, because we can propose a plan or a thought or an idea to people that may find it not very palatable, whether that's, as it is, palatable meaning as food or just psychologically. So it's really finding out what works for someone, and then finding out what someone is not just can live with, but be happy with, because life's a long journey, and we hope that we can live it in a healthy way and enjoy it, because if we don't, our health can certainly get in the way of us enjoying it.
Mike, that's such an important distinction, because I see so often in the, let's call them nutrition circles, that people, rather than saying, for example, with your 17-day diet program, I would imagine that your intention is always with getting great results. So you could say, here is this program, give it a shot, If it doesn't work for you, let's find one that does work for you, because
Right.
you are most interested in your patients being successful, not saying this is the only path, and if it doesn't work, there's something wrong with you, and you should just maybe you're at fault, versus maybe we just need to try a different approach with you.
It's so right. One of the statements I use with my patients constantly is that I don't want to put my diet into your lifestyle. I want you to give me your lifestyle, and I want to put it into my diet. And I think that you hit it right on the head. It's really a matter of, you get caught up in just thinking that, what you do is the same across the board for everybody. And one of the things I use a lot with my patients is journaling, and not just in terms of diet, but in terms of chronic pain syndromes, whether it's migraines or IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, whatever it may be. Allergies is another thing. But when people have issues with weight loss, I sit down with them and I say to them, let's journal your day. And from the time you open your eyes in the morning to the time that you lay your head on the pillow, I want to know what your day is, what you do. Are you a single mom, a single dad? Do you have 3 jobs or 2 kids or no kids? Or what is it about your life that is different and challenging? And give me the obstacles, because I can't always provide the tools, but I think that if we think, and when I say we, I mean myself and the person, the individual I'm speaking with, we put our heads together, we can find a solution at most of the time. And if not, you said it exactly. We go back to the drawing board. But, we can't give up. We really can't. I think I've seen so many people give up in the last few years that I'm really trying to set a precedence that we can kind of reach out and help each other and, get some new ideas.
I appreciate you saying that, Mike, because there's really, from the outside looking in, someone could say, here's a perfect example of, like, there is this 17-day diet, and if I try it and it doesn't work for me, it is the one true path, almost like a religious argument, is the one true path, and if it doesn't work for me, then I have failed and I might as well give up. And what I hear you saying is nothing could be further from the truth. It is a path, and you have to figure out how to walk whatever path you can walk on for the rest of your life. And if one particular path doesn't get you to your destination as fast as you would like, or as easily as you would like, or sustainably as you'd like, find another path. Don't give up.
Exactly. Never give up. This is a 17-day trial that I assure most people find success. And when I see most people, I mean the numbers are in the 90% or more. And I tell people, listen, you're not going to follow this 100% because it's very, very difficult to do anything 100%. But if you can follow this to within 80, 85%, you're going to see results. And another thing is, as you said, just don't give up, because, life is hopefully a long journey, and 17 days is a really small portion. I mean, people take vacations longer than 17 days. So if you can get 17 days, use 17 days to get your life back on track, that's a small investment in the big picture.
Mike, getting into the 17-day diet dynamic, what is the general, certainly we don't want to give away the farm here, but in terms of the types of foods we're eating, when we're eating, things like that, what is the general protocol?
Well, the general protocol is this. This is not about starving people. This is about resetting your metabolism and reestablishing a healthy rate of metabolism. So the general protocol is that you're having 3 and 4 meals a day. You're having snacks. You're doing what most of us need to do. We live busy lives. We need to eat. We try to give you carbohydrates from day one, but we try to focus on clean carbohydrates. So what we're trying to get rid of is all of the processed foods. And when I say that, I really want people to focus on that term, processed foods. We don't need that stuff. And it's not carbs, because carbs are needed, as I said earlier. It's getting 3 or 4 meals a day, getting those snacks, but learning which of those things we should do. I try to focus our biggest meal on morning or afternoon. And again, it has to be changed dependent upon a person's lifestyle and their job and their daily activities. And, we use a term in medicine, ADLs, which are activities of daily living. And so everybody's different. But it's really, heavy in protein initially. And the carbs, you're still allowed from day one. You're still allowed carbs. You're still allowed, fruits and vegetables. And as we progress through the 17-day cycles, we start to bring in, after just 17 days, we start to bring in potatoes and yams and whole grains. And as we proceed to another 17 days, we start to weave in breads and pastas and a lot of these things that people think, oh my gosh, I can never have this again. And it's just not true. You just need to learn portion control. You need to learn which are the proper carbs and when to have them. And that's what this book tries to outline for people.
And is there ever a point, Mike, in this protocol where certainly a lot of people use the term moderation and everything in moderation, and right. We all know intuitively that that's not actually true. Like, we don't say smoke in moderation, we say don't smoke. Right. So just use heroin in moderation. It's okay.
That's
so
right.
is there a place for these processed edible products in your protocol in moderation?
Well, look, going back to what I said a few minutes ago, which is that you don't need to do this with 100%. And we're all going to have our moments of weakness, and whether they're caused by our challenges vocationally or at home or whatever they may be, we all have a crutch. What my goal is to do is to minimize those sort of gluttonous episodes of perhaps eating something that you wouldn't normally eat. Now, when you go to the program, a lot of people say, well, it's 4 cycles of 17, and it's actually not. It's actually 3 cycles of 17. The 4th cycle is a maintenance cycle, and the maintenance cycle gives you exactly what you're telling me or asking me, which is it gives you the ability to have some freedom on Saturdays and Sundays. Now, it doesn't mean go out and eat 10 pepperoni pizzas and a box of donuts and go crazy, but it means that you can enjoy those things. And I did this because in my experience, most people have activities or parties or weddings or whatever it may be on the weekends. And so for many people, the challenges will occur on that 5 o'clock on Friday through 6 o'clock on Sunday, and then people kind of get back into their routine. So what this does is, in my opinion, mimics life as we live it. It mimics, and again, this may change. You know, some people may be working Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and have Monday and Tuesday off, and you simply shift the recommendations. But the point is this. The point is that on those weekends, you can go out and have some pizza, or you can go out and have a donut or do whatever. You're right. I'm not going to say on those weekends go ahead and puff away on a pack of cigarettes. Which is certain things we want to abstain from completely. But when the book guides you and tells you when you're kind of going overboard on these free days, or when you're doing a little too much, and it kind of gives you some hints to toggle back. That being said, what most people find are 2 things. One, when they start to proceed towards these gluttonous days, they don't feel good. And a lot of it's because they've detoxed their body. They put their body in a different state of mind, mentally and physically. And so when they start to eat these things, their body almost rejects them. Secondly, most people don't enjoy it. And you have such an overwhelming good feeling of energy, and you sleep better, and you feel better, and you think better, and everything just works better. To pour sugar in a gas tank just doesn't make sense. And so not only does your body not sort of gel with it, but what I'm finding is people are saying, when I have these free days, I don't really eat those things I used to because it doesn't make me feel good. And I love the way I feel during the week, and I'm so productive and positive. I want to feel that way all the time. So people kind of gel into this routine on their own, and people sort of get to these points where, yeah, you can still have everything and anything in moderation, but what I'm finding is a lot of people sort of shy away from it because they don't really enjoy it.
And it certainly seems like there may be an advantage there with a bit of a Garden of Eden complex, whereas if you know intellectually that it's not completely off limits, that gives you a sense of maybe control, and then naturally you come to the place by your own conclusions that I don't want this. That seems maybe infinitely more powerful than you can't have this because I say you can't, versus I don't want this because it doesn't make me feel good.
Exactly. When people get to a very good friend of mine who I love him to death, but sometimes he challenges me, and I can tell him what to do sometimes, and unless he gets there on his own, it's not as concrete, and regardless of what the point may be. So, I always tease him because I always say, I knew you would get there, but you had to get there on your own. And when you get there on your own, it's extremely powerful. And when people get there and they come to me and say, well, you know, I started doing this, and I sort of scratch my head and think, I've been telling you that for the last 6 months. But when people get there on their own, there is a mindset and there is a power to that. And the mind is extremely powerful. But when we say to ourselves, yeah, I get this, you're more inclined to continue that behavior as opposed to, as you said, when someone says, this is what you need to do. So it's very powerful. I think this is a training method, and I think this is why people are not just losing weight, but they're keeping it off, Jonathan. And that's the cool thing that I'm loving about this. I mean, people are saying, yeah, I lost 30 pounds, and I kept it off. I lost 60, 70, 100, 150 pounds is the most that I've seen lost, and these people are keeping it off. It's not through surgery. It's not through fasting. It's not through drinking liquid all day. This is sound nutritional advice, going back to what you said at the very beginning. And when people get there on their own and get a taste of what it feels like to be healthy again, they're more inclined to stay the path.
Dr. Mike, I really want to highlight what you mentioned about keeping the weight off, because if we look at the scientific literature, I'm sure this is your experience as well, the challenge is not primarily with weight loss. Almost everyone has done that. It's with weight maintenance. And one of my favorite studies, I believe it was a study out of Stanford that compared a bunch of different diets like Atkins versus like a high fat versus high carb versus more higher protein. And what they found basically was anyone who stuck to anything other than the standard way of eating did well. And the conclusion was that it's the practicality of the quote unquote diet, which matters possibly the most, because the actual diet itself is going to vary person to person to person. But what doesn't vary is if you stop doing it, it stops working, right?
And that's the point. And so when you said it exactly, if you stop doing it, and people say, well, you're saying stop doing it, stop doing the 17-day diet. And that's where the sort of confusion is, because people get into the book. When you start reading it, they will go, oh, I get it. This is not a 17-day fix. This is a pathway back to exactly what you're saying, the ability, the power, the strength, the mindset, the physicality of being able to maintain this lifestyle. It's all about lifestyle. And you'll hear people say it all the time, well, you have to change your lifestyle. Well, what does that mean? For everybody, lifestyle is different. And for everybody, lifestyle is different because everybody has different responsibilities and things that they need to do. So this is about giving people the ability to reset their lifestyle on a physical standpoint. And it's not just always about weight. I tell people they sometimes get frustrated because they don't drop as many pounds as they were hoping. But you have to look inside. What's your blood pressure doing? What's your cholesterol doing? What's your sugar doing? You know, how are your heart and lungs working? This is a whole body process. This is not just what does that scale say? How many pounds did I lose? Granted, you're going to see the weight loss, but what people don't see are those hidden factors that you can have improve inside, and those factors that I mentioned that are ultimately leading to so many problems from a health standpoint in this world.
Mike, what have you noticed with your patients? You've been doing this, like you said, for well over a decade, and you got your family practice. You've obviously touched, maybe at this point, millions of lives with the 17-day diet. And congratulations, it's been wonderful to watch that ride. When we get off the call, I want to have an off-the-record conversation with you on how you did that. But
absolutely.
Have you noticed in your practice? Because I've noticed this, and there's a bit of research to suggest it, in terms of personality types for the type of lifestyle nutrition pattern which may be best for us each as individuals. And really there being almost two types of people. One is someone who would much rather have a program in which they can eat a little bit of everything, just not too much of anything. And some people would prefer to have a program where they don't eat any of certain things, but can go a little over the top with other things. Let me give you concrete examples. To me, the 17-day diet is a little bit more of, quote unquote, all things in moderation, just don't go overboard. Whereas something a bit more like a carbohydrate restricted diet says, as long as you don't eat X, you can basically eat as much that you want of Y, and often when people do that, they spontaneously reduce caloric intake. That's been shown in numerous studies. But those are two very different approaches. What are your thoughts on those two approaches?
That's an excellent question. I'd have to say in the last 3 years since I've been doing a lot of these interviews, that's one of the best questions I've heard. I think personally, again, I'll foundationally set this up by saying everybody's different. And as you said, that's why those two principles have to be realistic options. Now, that being said, everybody's different. And I think really this program is kind of a little bit of both, because it kind of gives you hints and do's and don'ts for both types of people. My personal feeling is this. Listen, I'm a foodie. I love to eat. I eat socially. To me, a big thing, familial-wise. I'm Mexican. I grew up around, big families eating and screaming and yelling and food and tortillas and I grew up around this stuff, and I still, it's part of my heritage. I love it, and like so many other cultures there, I've been fortunate the last few years to visit so many other cultures in the diet and utilizing this diet into their cultures. My thoughts are really that I think for everybody, it's what works for you. I'm more of a moderation kind of guy because I like to do things. I'm not about deprivation. My thoughts have always been that when you deprive people, failure is an ultimate demon that will poke its head out. So I think people should be able to do as they choose. And the payoff for that is simply this. Maybe give a little more exercise or a little longer of a walk, or say to myself, I'm going to enjoy myself tonight. I'm going to have an extra glass of wine or a piece of pizza, whatever it is you're doing, and it really doesn't matter. But I'm going to find an extra half hour tomorrow to make up for it. And, if your payback is a little more exercise, or maybe being a little more strict on a day or two following whatever day you sort of went off things, I think that's great. My thing is, again, when you go to the being strict for 2 days versus just a little exercise, I think a healthy walk with a friend or family, or sometimes by yourself to get collect your thoughts. I think the payback should be a little exercise. But again, I'm not about depriving. I think deprivation leads to failure and rebound, and people revolt, and I think that sends you down a bad pathway. So I think enjoy any and everything and learn about moderation. And if you mess up, so what? Guess what? You can make up for it in other ways. But you just want to have those mess-up days not occurring too often.
And again, Mike, it gets back to that. It seems like an overarching principle we're talking about here, which is regardless of what you're eating, you should always be conscious of ensuring cleanliness of the food you're eating and ensuring the nutrient density. But it is absolutely going to vary from person to person in terms of like what you just said is a little bit of everything in moderation that works really well for you. I've noticed with myself. Let me give you a concrete example. I was talking with one of my friends the other day, and they were craving some of this dessert, and for them and for my mother as well, they can take a bite of a dessert and they're like, that's good, like I'm good, that's what I want. If I take a bite of a dessert and I don't eat the entire dessert, I will feel less satisfied than if I didn't eat any of the dessert.
So here, thus is born the 3-bite rule. And for those of you who haven't read the book, there's a very, very elaborate sort of discussion about that very thing. I'm like you. I can't have one bite. That's not enough. And so I use the 3-bite rule when it comes to desserts. For most desserts, especially some of these ones that are rich in chocolate and sugar and stuff, 2-3 bites is usually about what you need. And there are some great tips in the book that show you how to practice this discipline and how to sort of succeed at doing it. But listen, I'm on your side on this one. 1 bite's not enough. But you know what? You use the 3-bite rule, and then you either remove yourself from the situation or have the dessert or the situation remove itself from your presence. But 1 bite's not enough. But the 3-bite rule seems to work pretty well. Most people are satisfied with that. There's always a point I always joke around with people, and I say, they're always like, how do you know? Because I'm not one of these people that wipes the plate clean. And it's okay. And I think sort of society in the last many years has sort of led us down this pathway of thinking you can't waste food and you can't do this, you can't do that. My thought is this, when we're all in a gathering, and I want people to do this, next time you're around a dinner table or with friends or at a restaurant, or even look around at other tables, watch as people are eating, and you'll notice this behavior, and it occurs without people really realizing, and I do it myself. There's this point in the meal where normally people are leaning in into conversation, into the meal, into what's going on. And suddenly you'll see them lean out. And we've all done it. We sort of arch our back and we rub our bellies and we start to, it's that first moment of fullness. Let me tell you, that's just such a critical moment in eating a meal. And I'll tell you, that is the point where if you stop, you not only feel fulfilled from eating, but you feel great when you're done. I mean, most of us come out of a restaurant, or a lot of us sometimes just rolling out of there and want to just find a couch or a bed and just collapse. And it kind of takes away from the experience in my opinion. So look around next time you're at a restaurant or dinner table and watch for people and watch them sort of do that lean back. And it's key to watch the people who do that and then push their plate away and are disciplined enough to be done, versus those who continue to lean back in and do this 2 or 3 more times until they're just stuffed. But human behavior is so amazing, and I think in the 15 years of practice, that's the one thing I've learned. My patients always say, "Oh God, you teach us a lot about this," and I can't thank my patients enough for what they've taught me about human behavior and the challenges they've given me over the years. But we're all different, and I can't stress enough to you how much we need to just lend a hand to whether it's a friend or a family or even someone you don't know, and really, really try to help each other, because we're all in this together.
And Mike, I want to shine a light on what you said there in terms of the eating in a social gathering, just to make sure I understand correctly, because if I can totally empathize, and it's been had a profound impact in my life as well. And that's what you're describing. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is, for example, you serve yourself some food and you got your plate there, you got a nice plate, you eat it. And when you're done, like when you take your last forkful, you think to yourself, that was good.
Right.
I could eat some more. I could eat some more. But what you do, and this is actually what myself and my wife do, is we say, that was really good. I could eat some more. And then we wait and we talk for 3 to 5 minutes. And amazingly, in quotation, at the end of that 5 minutes, 80% of the time, we are completely satisfied.
Right.
And it's not as if and I just want folks to understand I believe you're not saying, stop when you're still hungry and it's just about eating less. What I hear you saying is it's about not unnecessarily overstuffing yourself simply because your gut hasn't had time to communicate with your brain just how satisfied it actually is.
Exactly right. And there's 2 points I'm going to make. One is that I generally recommend that people eat to when they're 70 to 80% full, because that extra 20% will come, as you just stated with you and your wife, it will come with time. And when those neurotransmitters and those signals from the gut get to the brain and all of the chemical sort of things that take place, we call that, I don't want to get all medical because it gets boring, but the satiety receptors, once they have time, and satiety meaning fullness or feeling full, when those receptors have a chance to be saturated and they send that signal to the brain and say, hey, we're all full here, we're good to go, that's really enjoyment. And what I find is that oftentimes I feel like I'm enjoying the meal and the taste and the flavors and all of the meal, the experience of the meal leading up to that point. And sometimes when you push past that 75 or 80% to that 90 or that full 100% or feeling stuffed, it almost seems like you don't enjoy that last push. So I think the enjoyment is really that front part, and part of it's the food, and part of it's the company, and your friendship and conversation, and part of it's just enjoying the taste and flavors of food. So you're absolutely right, and when you try to train your body and your mind to sort of find out where that 75 or 80% sort of time frame is in an eating of a meal, you'll enjoy your meal a lot better, and you feel one of the other things is I like to eat and feel energized. I like to eat and feel like I'm ready to go. It's like filling up your gas tank. You know that feeling when you fill up, you have a full gas tank. It's great. You get in the car and you feel like you can go anywhere and do anywhere. And it's really the same with eating. I love that feeling of being energized and feeling good after you eat. And let's face it, most of the time after we eat, we typically aren't going to bed. And if you are, that's probably something you should change in terms of your behavior. A lot of us really eat and then are launched into our day, and whether that's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, whatever it may be, a lot of us have to be sort of mentally and physically prepared to do something. So why not eat and feel energized and think clearly and feel better as opposed to wanting to lay down and sleep?
It's good stuff. And if you're not laying down and sleeping, which is good, then you should take that time and you should go check out drmikediet.com, because our good friend Dr. Mike that we've been talking to here has a free report up there called 7 Simple Ways to Lose Weight Now. Certainly also going to improve your health a bit. His book, which I'm sure you've heard of, has been all over the media, is The 17-Day Diet. Dr. Mike, thank you so much for joining us. And what's next for you? Because in some circles, you've basically scaled the publishing success mountain. Which mountain are you going to scale next?
Well, I'll tell you, the book initially was followed by a cookbook, which was really fantastic. I had the fortune of working with some very talented individuals to produce a number of new recipes that all fall into the very simple cycles. So that was completed about a year ago. Up next, currently being worked on, is a revision of the current book, and that'll be out probably not till the first of the year. I'm thinking probably January. But this book's going to be fantastic. It's going to revisit a lot of the sort of foundational principles of the 17-Day Diet, but we're going to have some amazing testimonials, and you're going to see people of all ages from all over the country, from all over the world, quite honestly, and some of their success stories. So we're going to be able to share a lot of those with people, and I think they're truly inspiring. We're going to have a ton more recipes that are going to be available, and then we're going to have some new literature that sort of focuses on body-specific weight loss and certain foods that target certain parts of the body in terms of, decreasing size. So there's some good stuff coming in the first of the year, and hopefully I think people will continue to just grasp ideas. Again, the drmikediet.com, there's a lot of people sharing their success stories and ideas and challenges, and so it's a great forum to get help, whether it's individually or through just group support. There's a number of things out there.
Well, Dr. Mike, we'll have to have you back on the show if you don't mind, because I also have a book coming out right around that time frame, so we might have to work something out. Maybe we go on tour together or something.
Hey, fantastic. I'm sure it'd be great. Anything to get people healthier, I'm all on board. I appreciate you having me. It's been a great time, and I hope people enjoy listening. And, let's all, like I said, reach out and help each other, because life can be a good journey if we're living it in a healthy and positive way.
I love it. Thank you so much, Dr. Mike, folks. 17-Day Diet, drmikediet.com. And remember, this week and every week after, eat smarter, exercise smarter, and live better. Talk with you soon.
Wait, don't stop listening yet. If you like the podcast and if there's other ways we can help you, please join us in the Smarter Science of Slim support group, which is freely available at the Smarter Science of Slim website, smarterscienceofslim.com. There you'll find all kinds of free recipes and success stories and just all kinds of fun stuff, like how to help your kids go sane and just great community content.
And just one last thing before you go, if you wouldn't mind heading over to iTunes and up onto Amazon.com and leaving us a review, and then going over to Facebook and liking us, we would hugely appreciate it.